My beloved friends, there are moments in life when the veil between the seen and unseen grows thin, when the body may rest, but the spirit journeys into realms beyond human comprehension. In that sacred stillness, truth is revealed not through words, but through divine vibration. What I am about to share today is not a mere story, but a revelation that awakens the soul and renews the understanding of what it truly means to speak in tongues. It's not just a mystery. It's a healing code, a key to unlocking the hidden energies of spirit, mind, and body. When one begins to understand the true essence of spiritual language, it becomes clear that the tongue is not merely a muscle used for speech, but an instrument of vibration. The act of speaking in tongues is not a mental construction or linguistic invention. It is the spirit communicating directly through sound, a release of divine energy that bypasses the boundaries of the human intellect. Words of men can describe thoughts, emotions, or events, but the language of the spirit carries energy that transcends comprehension. When the human soul is touched by a force higher than itself, the natural mind can no longer contain the experience. The body, being the vessel, becomes the channel, and the tongue becomes the tool through which that energy finds expression. This expression is not understood by the ears but felt by the heart. Every syllable spoken in that sacred state is a frequency, a sound vibration carrying healing power. In the same way that sound waves can shatter glass or calm the mind through music, the sounds released during spiritual utterance can reconfigure the energy patterns of the body and soul. These vibrations reach into the deepest parts of one's being, loosening what has been bound, healing what has been hurt, and awakening what has been asleep. The spirit knows what the mind does not. It knows where pain hides, where fear lingers, where hope struggles to breathe. Through the movement of sound, it begins to restore alignment, creating resonance between the physical and the spiritual realms. When the spirit speaks, it operates beyond logic and grammar. It flows like a river, spontaneous and alive, free from the interference of human thought. It is as if a higher frequency takes control, guiding the tongue to produce sounds that unlock emotional, mental, and even cellular healing. Those who experience this find a deep peace afterward. A peace not created by reason but born of surrender. The vibration of these utterances carries the same creative power that formed the universe, the same sound that shaped life from formlessness. It is a return to that original voice, that primeval energy which still echoes through every atom of existence. Speaking in tongues, therefore, is not a performance. It is a process of release and restoration. The conscious mind steps aside and the spirit takes over, tuning the human being to divine frequency. The result is clarity, relief, and renewal. It is as though the soul, long burdened by noise and confusion, finally exhales and remembers its connection to the infinite. In that sacred moment, the language of heaven becomes the medicine of earth. The body feels lighter, the mind calmer, the heart open. The invisible energy that animates life flows freely once again, clearing channels that once were blocked. What many dismiss as strange or senseless is in truth the most natural expression of divine communication. An exchange not of ideas but of vibration, not of thought but of energy, not of noise but of healing. Modern science has long confirmed that everything in existence vibrates at a certain frequency, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. The human body is no exception. Each organ, tissue, and cell resonates with its own natural rhythm, creating a symphony of energy that sustains life. When this harmony is disrupted by stress, fear, or negative emotion, the result is imbalance, and imbalance leads to illness. The act of speaking in tongues works as a divine recalibration of that internal frequency. The sounds, though unrecognizable to the mind, carry a vibration that aligns the spirit and body with the natural order of creation. It is not simply a spiritual act, it is vibrational medicine that reaches where human hands cannot. As one releases these sacred sounds, the body begins to respond. The heartbeat steadies, the breath deepens, and the nervous system calms. The energy pathways, what some call meridians or spiritual channels, open, allowing life force to flow without resistance. In this state, emotional toxins are expelled, and mental clutter is cleared. The vibration carries intelligence beyond words, guiding the body to repair itself, cell by cell. It's as though an invisible physician awakens within, orchestrating healing with perfect precision. These frequencies cleanse the inner atmosphere, dissolving fear, guilt, and shame, replacing them with peace, clarity, and light. The spirit releases what the conscious mind has held captive for years. Unspoken pain, unhealed trauma, buried memories, all begin to surface and dissolve in the resonance of divine sound. There is a mysterious synchronization that occurs between the spiritual utterance and the biological system. Scientists have observed that certain sound frequencies can influence brain waves, shifting them from states of anxiety into deep relaxation or heightened awareness. Similarly, when the soul releases sounds that come from divine impulse, brain chemistry begins to change. Neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine increase, bringing emotional balance and a sense of calm. The immune system becomes more active, and the body starts producing healing enzymes. What seems like a spiritual event is, in truth, a full-spectrum restoration of the human design. The body and soul harmonize, remembering their original vibration, the frequency of life, joy, and peace. The subconscious mind also undergoes renewal. This deep layer of human awareness carries imprints from every experience, thought, and emotion. Over time, those imprints form patterns that influence behavior and health. When one speaks in tongues, the frequency of sound penetrates this hidden realm, reprogramming it with higher truth. It's like rewriting the code of the soul. The words may not make sense to the human ear, but the energy behind them communicates perfectly with the subconscious, commanding it to let go of pain and align with divine order. The result is transformation, not forced or intellectual, but organic and effortless. It is the healing that comes from within, the restoration that arises when divine vibration touches the very core of human existence. Beyond the boundaries of spoken language lies a realm where silence speaks louder than words, where thought dissolves, and awareness expands into infinity. Speaking in tongues acts as a spiritual bridge to that realm, a passageway that leads the mind out of the limitations of reason and into the deep waters of divine consciousness. In this sacred experience, the intellect steps aside, and something far greater takes over. The spirit begins to communicate not through logic but through direct transmission. It is like tuning a radio from the static of worldly noise to the clear frequency of divine wisdom. In that moment, the individual becomes aware of a presence larger than themselves. A field of pure consciousness that is alive, intelligent, and deeply connected to every heartbeat in existence. As the utterance flows, the veil between the seen and unseen grows thinner. One begins to perceive life not as a series of random events, but as a perfectly woven pattern of divine intention. The sounds produced in this state seem chaotic to the outer ear, yet they follow a higher rhythm. A language of light that the soul instantly recognizes. This state of deep connection is not something that can be taught, it can only be experienced. The mind, conditioned by human logic, cannot interpret it, but the spirit understands it completely. It is the soul's natural language, the original communication that existed before words were ever formed. Through this process, awareness expands and the inner senses awaken. Insights flow like rivers, and what was once hidden becomes illuminated by spiritual understanding. Entering this level of consciousness is like stepping into an ocean of peace. The chatter of the mind fades, and one feels surrounded by stillness that breathes. Time loses meaning, the past and future dissolve into the eternal present. In that state, the spirit sees without eyes, hears without ears, and knows without thought. It is the realm where intuition is born, where divine instruction, wisdom, and guidance are revealed effortlessly. The heart begins to understand truths that the mind could never reason out. This is the place where answers are not sought but received, where healing is not requested but realized. The power of this experience lies in surrender. One does not enter higher consciousness through effort but through letting go. When the tongue moves in harmony with divine energy, the ego quiets, and the spirit rises. In that surrender, the individual no longer feels separated from creation. Instead, they sense unity, the realization that they are not a drop apart from the ocean, but the ocean expressing itself as a drop. The divine current flows freely, revealing that consciousness itself is the true healer, teacher, and guide. The deeper one surrenders to this flow, the more the boundaries of self begin to fade, and the soul remembers its eternal origin. Existing in complete harmony with the infinite, there is a sacred humility in understanding that spiritual gifts are never meant to glorify the self, but to align the self with something higher. Speaking in tongues is one of the most misunderstood expressions of this truth. Many have turned it into a spectacle, forgetting that its real purpose is communion, not performance. The essence of this practice lies in surrender, the letting go of ego so that the spirit can speak freely. It is not about being seen, it is about being aligned. When one speaks in tongues from the depth of sincerity, there is no thought of impressing anyone or proving holiness. The focus shifts from outward validation to inward connection, and what happens in that space is pure transformation. In that intimate dialogue between soul and source, there is no need for interpretation, applause, or recognition. It is a conversation too sacred for human comprehension. The tongue moves not out of will but out of flow, Every sound is a vibration of devotion, every breath a release of resistance. The heart becomes the true listener while the spirit does the speaking. In this process, one's energy begins to harmonize with divine order. The noise of the ego, its pride, its fear, its desire for control, fades away. What remains is truth in its most authentic form, a direct connection between the human vessel and the eternal current of life. The power of this experience is not in its volume or intensity but in its purity. Even the softest whisper, when born of the spirit, carries the resonance of the heavens. Those who use this gift as a tool for attention or dominance miss its essence completely. The sacred language was never meant for spectacle but for surrender. It is in the quiet moments of prayer, solitude, or worship that its deepest power is revealed. The energy that flows through the tongue in those moments realigns the heart to divine will. It recalibrates motives, purifies thoughts, and refines intention. One begins to realize that true spirituality is not loud, it is luminous. It does not seek followers, it seeks transformation. When the ego dissolves in this process, clarity returns, and peace settles within like morning light after a long night of storm. The true alignment that comes through this sacred language is not emotional excitement but spiritual balance. The body begins to feel lighter, the mind quieter, and the heart gentler. Compassion deepens and understanding grows. The person becomes a vessel of calm power, moving through life with grace and discernment. The practice becomes a silent offering, an invisible dialogue between creation and creator. The vibrations released not only purify the speaker but also sanctify the space around them. Energy shifts, peace fills the atmosphere, and love begins to flow like a healing fragrance. It is not for entertainment but for elevation, not for recognition but for restoration. Not to display power but to dwell in presence. The human body is more than flesh and bone. It is a living instrument designed to resonate with the frequencies of spirit. Every cell listens, every organ responds to the energy that flows through it. When the tongue begins to move under divine impulse, it is not just a spiritual event. It is a physical one as well. The vibrations created through this sacred sound travel through the nervous system, influencing the brain, heart, and hormones in ways that science is only beginning to understand. These sounds carry a unique rhythm that calms the body's stress response, slows down the overactive mind, and brings the body into a state of balance. The breath deepens, blood pressure steadies, and the muscles relax. This process opens the door for the body to begin repairing itself naturally. The brain, which operates on electrical and vibrational frequencies, is especially sensitive to this spiritual resonance. During the act of speaking in tongues, certain areas of the brain associated with reasoning and control become less active, while areas related to emotion, creativity, and connection light up. This shift allows a person to experience a sense of peace that bypasses mental understanding. Neurochemicals such as endorphins and dopamine are released, lifting mood and easing anxiety. Over time, this can lead to improved emotional regulation, sharper focus, and a heightened sense of spiritual awareness. The body's chemistry aligns with the spirit's rhythm, creating a harmony that brings vitality, clarity, and healing. It is a reminder that the body and spirit are not separate entities, they are two expressions of the same divine essence communicating through vibration. The physical heart also responds to this sacred practice. As the rhythm of spiritual speech flows, the heart synchronizes with the breath, promoting better circulation and oxygen flow. The cardiovascular system becomes more efficient, the immune system strengthens, and the body begins to release stored tension. The act itself becomes a meditative rhythm, not forced, but effortless, that nourishes both the inner and outer being. In that state, the body functions not in stress mode, but in creation mode, where growth, repair, and renewal naturally occur. It's as if every cell begins to dance to the melody of spirit, rejoicing in its reconnection with divine energy. Beyond the physical effects, there is a deeper layer of healing that takes place in the emotional and energetic body. Many people carry unspoken pain and emotional memories within their tissues. Grief in the chest, fear in the stomach, shame in the throat. When divine sound moves through the body, these stagnant energies begin to loosen. Tears may flow, warmth may rise, or stillness may settle, but whatever happens is part of the cleansing. The tongue becomes the brush, and the body the canvas upon which divine energy paints restoration. In that moment, healing is not sought from outside forces but awakened from within, proving that true medicine is not always found in what we take, but in what we release through the sacred vibration of the soul.